Alrighty, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I don't think I can stream for very long tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. Hi Shia, thanks so much for stopping by. Hello, hello. So yeah, I have never done this before, but it's an idea I've been kind of toying with, playing around with. Something that I've been wanting to do for a little bit. I feel like my mic is a little bit quiet. Sorry for that, but if that's the case, I kind of turned it up all the way, so hopefully it's good enough. Um, I've been kind of toying with the idea of doing art streams for a while. Hi Jay, no worries. I appreciate you stopping by, at least for this little bit, and thank you for checking out the VOD later. It's a tad quiet, but it's good. Okay, yeah, I don't know how much I can fix it. I've already been dealing with too many technical difficulties already tonight, with dealing with getting my capture and everything working. Hopefully it's all working okay. And yes, so hopefully I can see that it's working okay because Zoe says, I see you got Clip Studio. Yes, I do have Clip Studio. That's what I used to draw. Did I buy EX or Pro? I think I have EX or Pro. One of those two is the one I have. I could not tell you which one. Maybe that one gives you the idea of what it is. That's a sketch I was working on earlier. It's not very good, but we're getting there. We're improving. But I think I have something. I don't know. But what I'm gonna do today, I'm probably only gonna stream for about an hour or so, but I wanted to do a little bit of practice tonight and figured I would stream and hang out with everyone. I was kind of thinking I would play music, but oh my god, it's good. I'm glad that you think so because I hid it away quickly because I didn't think it was very good. But thank you, I appreciate that. I figured this would just be a really chill stream. I was kind of toying with the idea of playing music in the background, but maybe I don't want to deal with that right now. So just let me know if you want the vibe to change or anything like that. But I have EX. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure what I have. I bought it when it was on sale at one point, so I don't know. I didn't remember which one it was. I was just like, oh, it's on sale, so let me get it. But I wanted to maybe do some gesture practice. So basically, what I'm gonna do first actually is I have this file called "Tired of It" because, like, I'm really trying to practice and get better at hold on, I can see that my like chat is not quite the right size. I'm gonna fix that. So yeah, I've been practicing. So what you're kind of looking at right now is a bunch of boxes. So I've been kind of practicing like the bare basics of trying to imagine shapes in 3 dimensions and trying to just kind of like get the basic forms and stuff down. I do want to show you just like really briefly, like I'm quite proud of this, like what you're looking at on screen right now. I know it looks super basic, but basically like this is kind of how far I've come. So if I go into my files and kind of go I'm trying to remember which one of these, maybe it's like this one. So I was trying to do some boxes, right? So this was like one of my older ones where I was like starting to kind of understand the concept of perspective, and the idea. So let me find an even older one actually before I get into that one. Maybe there's one in January. I have ignore all of this stuff. This is all I never intended to show anyone any of this stuff. So like please ignore all this stuff. It's all just like bullshit practice. Man, I really should have prepared better, huh? Where are my boxes that I was practicing with? Forms, maybe this one. Yeah, this is a good example of an ugly one, right? So this is like where I started. And you can see like this is where I kind of started with this idea of practicing like doing boxes and stuff. And you can see too I have like multiple layers, right? So this was like a really early first attempt of me just like trying to do boxes in 3 dimensions. And so I've definitely improved since then. This is like from January or February. So I feel like I've definitely improved at least in this a little bit, but you can see kind of like what I'm doing wrong here. Um like something like some of the stuff I'm doing wrong here is like these lines are not quite parallel. These lines are not quite parallel. You can kind of see that. So these lines have to be like either parallel or going towards the like point of perspective that you're going for, right? So like that's the other thing too, is like with perspective, things that are further away seem smaller, right? That's like a really basic thing in perspective. So like all of these like are kind of the same size. So that's part of also why it doesn't look quite right. This is super not in line, right? So there's like a bunch of mistakes in this, right? And like this is not how a cube looks like in 3 dimensions. It's just not. So it's like this is where I started off. Obviously, I had a bit of improving to do. I tried to do some cylinders and stuff as well. See, this one I can definitely tell what's wrong here because this should not be a circle. This should be more of an oval shape, right? Because it's like tilted. So it's stuff like that, right? It's like this one actually looks pretty good, but the thing that's wrong with this one is that if this is meant to be the part that's closest to us, then this line has to actually be smaller, right? It should be more like this, and it should like kind of go like that to make it look. Oh, see, look how much I've like improved that already. So basic stuff like that can just make it look better. Yeah, so these are like my ugly cubes, right? These are like my bad cubes. You can see I even got frustrated at this point and I was like, I give up. Thank you. Yeah, no worries, Morgan. Do your work. I appreciate you stopping by and listening in regardless. Thanks so much for being here. So yeah, these are some ugly cubes. And then after I sort of understood the concept better of like, okay, the back has to be smaller and these lines have to like line up, right? I did this with the help of the rectangle tool and basically like using the rectangle tool and then using the transform tool and actually like there's a transform setting that's actually like says perspective. So if you press perspective and you like move this around, it actually like warps the perspective of this cube, right? And so that's what I was doing here. I was basically using that warp perspective tool to practice drawing a bunch of boxes. And so these actually came out pretty decently, but it's because I was intentionally using the perspective tool and like shrinking it down as I was like drawing these back rectangles, right? Stuff like that. Just kind of understanding those, just trying to wrap my head around that concept. And then lately I've been doing some more practice, and so like this was like a warm up essentially. I was like, okay, let me just scribble out a bunch of shapes. And so, obviously a lot of stuff that's wrong here is like this should be more ovular. Just the lines are not clean, stuff like that. But it's obviously an improvement. And then I was trying to get a little bit better at the cubes. And then this is what I was like working on for real, like as kind of an exercise. So I was trying to basically be like, okay, if I took like a box and I put it right smack down in the middle and then I like just rotated it at different perspectives, what would it look like? And I tried to do all 9, but then I kind of got bored of it. So I figured, let me try to finish this as like kind of the warm up, and then I'll do like maybe a gesture drawing or two to kind of show what that process looks like. So yeah, I'm going to try basically, I'm going to do a little bit of warming up first. I'm going to just hide all these layers and kind of draw some shapes. So I'm going to do some circles. These are shapes that are so commonly used in most drawings. So it's good to just sort of get the hang of drawing shapes, and this is just like a warm up. And you can do like lines, you can do like trying to do parallel lines like that. You can do some like cross hatching, right? That's just some basic warm up stuff. And then after that, we can just sort of move on to our actual exercise. Okay, so something I'm trying to do here. So this is actually really hard. So I actually spent a long time kind of fighting with this, especially with these two diagonal cubes, because it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than you would think. So I'm gonna try to do this bottom left one next, and it does kind of help that I've already got these first two done, because I can kind of like try to essentially flip this vertically in my mind. So we've got this kind of line here, which is the kind of edge that's closest to us. So that's what I'm going to start with. Also, hello, my cat has come to visit. Hi. I'm sorry there's not enough space on the table for you to come hang out, but you can try. No? Okay, maybe next time. Yeah, so we're going to start with this edge that is like closest to us in perspective. So I'm going to start just with a line. And then there's like these parallel lines that indicate the other edges that I'm also going to do. So this line, oh my gosh, I'm already like struggling with this. So this line and this line are parallel. So that means that this has to go like this. This be a line there. And then this is the further back edge. So this is like the small edge. And then this kind of goes out like that, like a trapezoid. See, it's not quite right. The angle is not quite right. It's a little better. Okay. So that's meant to be like this face that's closest to us. What am I doing wrong here? This has to be 3 faces. I'm really confused what I'm doing here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, because I am obviously just like so confused, and I'm also like revisiting this exercise after doing this part. I'm going to cheat. I'm gonna cheat on this one, but I'll do the last one properly. So how I'm gonna cheat is I'm gonna use I'm gonna copy this and put it on a new layer, copy and paste. I'm going to take this new layer and transform and actually just flip it vertically, and then move it down here. So this is what it's supposed to look like. So what I was doing wrong, is that this line on the left has to be higher up than the line that's closest to us, because it's tilted away from us in this angle. That's what I was like not quite understanding in my head. And then this line back here also has to be up, because it's going away from us in that direction. So that's what I was not quite understanding. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity on that layer. And for this one, I'm more or less just going to trace it, because I need to get my head back in this like 3 dimensions, right? So okay, the line that's like closest to us is here. And then this one needs to be a little bit smaller but higher up. And then this one also needs to be kind of smaller like that. And then these lines are essentially parallel. But not this one. This one, okay, so this one, I kind of messed this up. This one should be more like, oops, more like that. Because these lines are parallel, but this line kind of goes, it should go more diagonal. So even I'm not quite going on the trace, because I'm kind of trying to fix
trying to fix what was wrong from the original cube. I feel like this needs to be a little bit more. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm... Oh, that looks super wrong. I don't know how I messed that up so bad. I mean, let's just try straight up just tracing it. Because I mean, my original cube doesn't look that bad, right? So let's just try tracing it. I feel like I was overthinking it. So these lines are not quite like angled the same. And I can't really... This has to be... This line has to go down more. Like it has to angle... It has to angle more like that. Like that. Which means that this one also has to angle more because it has to be kind of parallel. Yeah, that looks more right. What looks wrong? Something looks wrong. I feel like the point at which these three connect has to be a little closer. It should be more like that. Oh gosh, it's all wrong now. Yeah, that's more right. Let's stick with that. Let's just go with that. That's good enough, I think. I mean, I'm not really happy with it. I feel like maybe this has to be a little shorter. And like this needs to angle in a little bit more. I think that looks a little better. Yeah. Yeah, I think that has to... This line has to be shorter because it's further back in perspective than this line. So yeah, so that means like this face here is not quite right, but that's okay. It's fine. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hide that layer. Oops, not that one, this one. So we can get rid of that, and that's good enough. Great. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this next one, this last one I should say, on its own. Let's make this a little bit, oops. Let's make this a little bit bigger first so that it's just matching a little bit better with the rest of them. And then I'll do this one. I'll try to do this one more on its own, without any of the transform tools and stuff so that I can get that practice in. Okay, so we're gonna start with the line that's closest to us. And then this one is going to be angling away from us this way. So the lines are going to need to be above. Like that. Maybe like a little bit wider. Yeah. And then let's get these lines. Nice. Okay, and then this line has to be parallel to this line, but it has to be shorter because it's further back in perspective. And then this line has to be parallel. Wow, that one was so much faster. And it actually looks pretty decent. We'll take that. We'll take that as a win. All right. I'm not going to fight with these boxes anymore. That's enough. That's enough with these boxes. But there we go. There are my nine boxes in perspective. I'm pretty happy with how this looks, especially when compared to where I started off with these boxes. So that's what improvement gets you, baby. It gets you that far. It makes you from someone who can draw ugly boxes like this to someone who can draw half decent boxes like this. And even these ones, I'm already noticing like a lot of mistakes. Like I'm not super a fan of like these lines back here. Obviously like this one, I think this angle is not quite right. It needs to be a little, this line needs to be a little shorter. And same goes for this side too. But at least, you know, I feel like these four, the front facing, obviously, which is just a square, and then the up, down, left, and right, I feel like I did pretty decently there because that's like, it's fairly simple to just rotate in for two faces because then you just get to see two. But the three faces dimensions was tricky. I'll definitely try this exercise again, probably with like cylinders or pyramids or some other thing like that, just so that I'm getting practice with different shapes. But I figured I'd start with cubes since that was easy. And part of why I wanted to like do these streams in the first place was because like I know for me it was really intimidating starting to get into drawing and get into art because like it's something that I've always enjoyed, especially like as a kid. I would always like doodle and stuff in my notebooks and everything in class. You know, I would never pay attention and I would just be doodling in class. And I remember like at one point I just completely gave up on art because I didn't feel like I was good at it, and I didn't really understand that it was something that like you had to keep at and like keep getting better at because I wasn't immediately good at it. I just completely gave up on it. So I basically gave up on it for a very, very long time, basically never thought that I could do it. And then recently I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a try again. I'm going to actually try to learn. And so I feel like when you're an adult, it can be a little bit hard to start because you feel like, you know, the basics are something you should already know, or like there's younger people out there who are so much better than you. But I think like everyone has to start off bad and everyone has to practice to improve. And you know, especially if you're like me and just doing art as a hobby, then there's literally no pressure and you can go at your own pace. So that's what I'm doing, and that's where we're at. So yeah, getting forms in 3 dimensions is definitely something that is a basic skill that needs to be harnessed for any artist. So this is just one exercise that one can do to kind of practice that skill. Another thing that I'm kind of trying to learn is trying to learn how to draw characters and draw people, and obviously that's something that involves like so much knowledge actually to be able to draw people. You know, you have to understand not only this kind of basic forms and perspective stuff, because, you know, what are we if not just a bunch of like cylinders and boxes and stuff like that, right? So not only do you have to kind of understand like the basic shapes and forms in 3 dimensions, but to actually draw a person, you have to understand like, you know, movement and gesture and posing, right? Um and anatomy and all of that stuff, like especially anatomy. That's, I'm not excited to have to study anatomy because I feel like that's going to be really a lot of just trying to learn and memorize stuff and remember what the shapes of different body parts are and how they look in 3 dimensions. So that's going to be a lot of work, but the kind of thing that you have to start with is basic gesture drawing. So like, for example, this is kind of where this is where I started. This is basically where I started with kind of learning how to draw poses and things like that. This is one of my first earlier practices. And basically, like, the idea of this is you want to just kind of map out the basic skeletal structure of a person in order to understand, like, the center of gravity. That's something that is important to understand, like understanding that, like, you know, with your head here, with your head here and your body here and your legs going out this way, your center of gravity is like here, right? And so you can't have like your leg going out this way because then it doesn't make sense for how the rest of your body is sitting, right? So it's stuff like that you kind of have to understand before even getting into anatomy, right? Just kind of understanding, like, okay, how do these body parts like all balance with each other? And doing this basic skeletal structure is a pretty good way to understand those basics. So this is kind of how I've just been starting out. Basically, the way you do this is you draw the head, you draw the torso as a bean. And this is a tip that I learned from Tom, who's been occasionally teaching me how to do some techniques. So he suggested that I do the bean because this is just a nice like shape for a torso. You know, it's bendy, it's like squishy and round, but it's pretty accurate to that torso shape. But you know, you don't have to do it as a bean. I see a lot of artists do this as a square. I see them do it as an oval, you know. But I like the bean, and that was a tip from Tom. And then you basically want to do the shoulders and waist. And the thing about the waist is that the waist and the knees are always going to be parallel with each other. So that's something important to kind of know when you're mapping out these poses, is that the waist line and the knee line are always going to be parallel with each other. And then, yeah, just doing the arms and legs, right? Just kind of understanding how those lines work within the basic skeletal structure. So that's basically how one would do a pose practice. And a recent one that I've done that I can show you. Maybe this one. Yeah, I'm a little worried about YouTube saying like, "Oh, this is a naked person," but hopefully I don't get flagged for any of that because she is covering essential things. But yeah, it's basically like practices like this, right? So like taking a reference photo, and just tracing over the reference photo first, and just, you know, mapping out all those kind of essential skeletal structures. You know, you got the bean torso, you got the kind of, you can do like kind of this like diaper shape, I guess, if you want to call it, for the waist. That's kind of one way to do it. And then of course the legs and the joints and everything, right? So this is just like one example of one that I've done. And so we're going to do another one. We're going to go ahead and hide this layer, hide these layers rather, hide this lady altogether. Yeah, I did a bunch of layers for these. And then we're just going to do a new one. And I am going to go find a reference image. We're going to go to line of action. Line of action is a great resource for artists. It's a really great place where you can get references for tons of stuff, right? I mean, figure drawing, animals, facial expressions. Oh my goodness. And then like scenes and stuff like that too. So I'm going to go to the figure drawing and I'm going to show only covered models. We'll do, oh, that's so cool. I didn't even realize that they added this stuff. So they added an option for only non-binary, non-conforming models, which is cool. I'm just going to go ahead and hit all genders. We'll say adult for ease of things. We're going to not do time intervals. And I'm just going to go through, they've got some kind of creepy ones too, so just like keep that in mind. But I'm just going to go through it until I find one that I like, that I want to do. Maybe we'll do this one. No. Maybe we'll do this one. This one might be a good one. So yeah, so we'll take a pose like this. I'll say pause. And then I'll kind of just see if I can save the image. I can't. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot of it then. Oops, come on. So I'll take a screenshot of this model and I'll save it to my folder. And then I'll open it in Clip Studio. Oops. We'll move it over to my canvas. Just move it to where we want it. And we want to make sure that we have space to do the copy next to it, right? So that's good to me. And then I'll lower the opacity here so that we can draw on top of her. So I only really have about half an hour left before I have to end for tonight because it is Sunday, unfortunately, so I do have to get ready for work tomorrow. But I'll see if I at least have time to do the tracing, or let's see if I can go a little bit quickly because I don't want to make it seem like this type of practice has to be like super precious or anything like that. I just feel a little bit of pressure right now because I'm doing it on stream. But basically, like this kind of practice, like it doesn't have to be necessarily perfect, right? Like this is literally just you're trying to get that muscle memory. And when I say you, I mean me. You know, I'm trying to just get the muscle memory. I'm trying to just get the basics and stuff, and I'm just trying to get the practice in, you know. And so yeah, I'm not, it's good to not be too precious about it. So yeah, let's see if we could do it in about half an hour. I think that's like a good time. Normally, like with these type of poses, like people do them in like 2 minutes, 1 minute, stuff like that, but I don't feel comfortable yet doing like the quick messy stuff. I just feel like I'll do it slow and messy, like that's fine too, you know. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So yeah, we'll see if we can do this in about half an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the head and just draw a circle for her head. And then I'm going to draw the shoulder line and the waistline, which kind of go in opposite directions, right? So like this one is going at an upward angle like this. This one's going at a downward angle like this. And And then we'll go ahead and map out her shoulders here. And her elbows. And then we'll do... Well, okay, let's not do the shoulders and elbows because actually what we really need to do first is the bean. The bean, the torso, is really important in kind of setting the movement. So a lot of times, right, like you could even do kind of a line of action for something like this. So she's kind of curved, right? So a line of action for this might be something like this. Maybe something more like that. That's kind of our line of action, right? So sometimes you don't necessarily even need a line of action if you kind of drew the torso in a way of like gesturing that movement. But yeah, sometimes that having that line can be helpful. It just sort of helps you determine where your center of gravity is and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll do the bean first. So the bean has to kind of go like that almost. Except I don't like the way I did that. Again, you don't have to be precious with it, but I'm just kind of a little precious with it. A little bit at least. Yeah. So that's our bean. That's for her torso. And then we'll go ahead and do the shoulders. And then her waist kind of comes in like this. I actually am pretty proud of this curve right here. I feel like I'm not going to be able to replicate that as well when I do it again on the right. Oh, geez. Okay. So we've got her waist and we've got her hips. Now let's go ahead and do her legs. So again, her knees. Wait, her knees are not really. Well, her knees kind of are, right? Like her knees, the line of her knees kind of go parallel. I was like so confused because like her knees have to be parallel to her waist, right? So yeah, they do kind of go parallel like this. Right? And so the curved lines that I'm doing now, like these curves are kind of meant to represent the skeleton, right? Like the skeleton structure of her leg. Oh, thank you, Kitty. That's really sweet. I appreciate the I appreciate the encouragement. Yeah, I'm sure with practice I'll get a little better. Yeah, so these like curved lines here are kind of meant to be her bones. Her freaking bones. And then we'll do just like a little triangle thing for the foot. Like a weird rectangle. Okay. So that's her leg. And then for this leg, we're going to curve it this way. I don't like that. Curve it this way. And then this way. And then we'll do just like that for the foot. And then we'll do her elbows here. And then we'll kind of, yeah, we'll do her hands just as circles for right now. We're not about to try to learn how to do hands today. That's notoriously hard for art. And then we'll do just curves like this for her arm. I'm not liking the way this curve is coming out. There we go. That's a little better. So yeah, that's our basic skeletal gesture that we have traced over this model. So now the next part of the exercise is I'm going to go ahead and try to replicate what I just drew, but just on the right here in the blank space without tracing over the model. And I always like get kind of anxious when I do this part because I'm like, oh god, I literally just did it so well in the model. Now can I kind of replicate it on the side? But let's just give it a try. It doesn't have to be perfect. The most important thing I think are kind of just the movement. So actually I think I captured the movement of this person pretty decently, like with the curves of her torso and the curves of her legs, and then that line of action curve that I started off with. So let's see if we can replicate that. So let's actually start with that line of action curve. Let's see if I can replicate that. Gosh, I'm gonna do a new layer. Okay. I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit and actually like move this on top. Okay, that's actually not too bad. That's pretty on it. I'm actually let's see, I overthink this. I always overthink this. it really doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Okay, yeah, that's good enough. Let's not overthink it. Let's not get crazy. So the curve isn't exact, but you know, that's our general line of action curve. Nope, I'm sorry. I have to be crazy a little bit. I have to do this a little bit better. This is why it does take me like an hour to just do one gesture practice, because I try my best. I'm really trying to like, I guess the skill that I feel like I need to work on the most is like my hand-eye coordination. And just sort of get better at drawing what I'm seeing. This is just going to be the rest of the stream, just me trying to replicate this one line. I'm sorry in advance. Okay, I have to imagine this person. I have to imagine this person like walking. Okay, good enough. Good enough. We're not going to overthink it. Okay, so that's our curve. Let's do her head. Okay, good. I really need to calm down. Okay, yeah, there we go. That's good enough. That's gonna be her head. We'll do the lines for her shoulders and her waist. So this one goes up like this, and this one comes down. It's like about here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, not too off. I'll take that. We'll take that. Okay, and then let's go ahead and do our bean. We'll do the bean for the torso. I'm gonna take a sip of water actually, and I also still have my juice that I've got here that I haven't finished either. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. I haven't even checked in really with the chat, but I got so in the zone. But I hope everyone is doing well and you're all having a good weekend so far. If anyone else is drawing, I would love to know if anyone's drawing along with me, or if you're also practicing doing your own thing. Because I always like to watch other kind of drawing streams while I'm practicing. I feel like that's fun. Doing good. Glad to hear it, Kitty. Glad to hear it, Kitty Garden. All right. Let's shake it off. Let's do the bean. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of doing the bean. That's my motto for all of you today. Don't be afraid of the bean. Embrace the bean. Walk headfirst into the bean. So we got our curve. See, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to replicate. It's a lot harder to replicate when you're not tracing. So this bean curve has to kind of follow our line of action curve a little bit. So I feel like that is kind of what we're going for. So I can already kind of see, right, that like my bean here on the right is a little bit more squished than what I've got her here. But I think that's okay, because we could be trying to emphasize that twist a little bit more. And then we'll do her shoulders. And we'll do her waist. We'll do that kind of that diaper shape. For her waist. Except that's not really how that line goes. It's more because it's going like back in perspective, right? All right, that's her waist. And then we know that her knees are parallel, right, to her waist. All right. Okay. Now we've just got her limbs. So yeah, let's go ahead and draw in the knees. And then we'll do her legs. They're big old curves. And this one's almost like her shin, her front shin is kind of almost going like straight down. Almost. And then she's got her foot here. And then this leg is curving in this way. And then she's got her foot kind of like that, and it's curving like that. Not quite like. Yeah, kind of like that. All right, and then she's got one hand down here on her hip. And then one hand up here near her waist. And then her elbow is sticking out like here-ish. And then this elbow is kind of going down near kind of where this curve of her back is, right? It's kind of in line there. We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna curve her arms like this. Like that. Like that. And then her arms go out and in. And that's it, really. Once you get, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all my layers that I did my double on, and I'm just going to move them and see how well I did matching it up. And the answer is not too bad. I basically always get the leg proportions wrong. I feel like the torso also is a little bit long, but I kind of knew that going in. My leg proportions are almost always wrong, so I definitely always make my thighs like longer than my shins, so the knees just need to be brought up. So that's something that I need to practice and be aware of for next time. So that's basically how I do adjuster practice. Yeah, thanks, Kitty. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Yeah, so that's basically how I do adjuster practice. I was planning to end at 8:30. So I have about 10 minutes. I don't think I'm gonna start another one. I think I'm actually gonna probably be done with drawing for the day. I feel like this was a really good practice session. You know, I got my cubes, all my cube exercise all done, and I got one pose practice done, so I feel like that is a pretty good practice session for the day. But I would love to know you know, if anyone has any questions for these last few minutes of the stream. I would love to answer, or if you have any suggestions or anything like that, I would love to hear them. Basically, I would love to do more art streams and more drawing streams, you know, more practice stuff like this. I think it could be fun. Obviously, as I learn new things and kind of build on my knowledge, I would love to share all of that with you and kind of share my journey and kind of like, yeah, just I just like basically where I'm coming from with why I want to do these streams is like I was feeling a lot of kind of like just anxiety about learning and the process of learning, and you know, there can be a lot of like shame in being bad at something or being a beginner at something and just starting off. And I think that's also part of why it can be so hard to learn these new things as an adult, right? When you're like I said earlier, like you're supposed to be kind of good at basic level stuff, right, as an adult. But if you're totally new to something like art, then obviously you're not going to know the basics because you have to learn them. So I wanted to just kind of take away a little bit, or not necessarily take away, but like just sort of peek behind the curtain a little bit of like what the process of kind of looking bad and like struggling a little bit with art, like kind of what that looks like, right? And really where the beginning point can be, right? Like, oh, thank you, Kitty. I appreciate that. And also thank you, Shia. I appreciate that as well. You guys are so sweet. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to do with these streams is like take you along the journey, right? Like art is such a journey, and I feel like especially like the beginning part of the journey, people tend to like hide it away or be ashamed of it because like you're always kind of bad at the beginning, right? And so like people post their art once they get really good, and people are like, oh my god, that person has so much talent, they are like a natural born artist who like is making all these amazing artworks, right? But you don't necessarily see how much practice and work went into it. Oh my gosh, don't be sorry, Shia, you're so sweet. So I kind of wanted to peek behind the curtain a little bit and kind of show like, yeah, it actually takes a lot of like
effort and thinking and practice and trial and error, right? I mean, we saw just like with this one, right, about how like my leg proportions are not quite right? Like there's trial and error in this process and kind of just showing what that looks like. So if anyone out there is like also thinking about doing art or also thinking about picking up a new hobby or skill as an adult, or they're just like nervous about starting something, hopefully this gives you a little bit of encouragement to just give it a shot and try it out, because it's okay to be bad. It's okay to not be great at something when you first start out, because the only way to improve is to keep at it, and the only way to keep at it is to just get over that feeling. Like you have to get over the anxiety of being bad, because that's just not going to get you anywhere. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really didn't know how this was going to go. And with all my freaking technical difficulties that I was having, I was nervous that I wasn't even going to get to try this tonight. But I really appreciate it. I feel like this was kind of a successful first try. Let me know if you think like maybe next time we should have music playing in the background or something. I feel like I maybe was talking a little bit much because I felt like I needed to fill in the silence, but maybe if we had some music playing in the background, we could just like chill a little bit more. But yeah, let me know what you think. And we'll try out some different things for next time too. And I would love to maybe do some drawing like with other people and stuff like that too. Maybe with Tom if he's up for it. Maybe with some other beginners as well. That might be fun. That might be a fun thing to do too. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you again so much, everyone, for hanging out. I really appreciate it, especially on a Sunday evening. I don't know. I'll probably be back next weekend with something, but I don't know what that's going to be yet. So we'll figure it out together when we get there. And until then, stay safe and take care, everyone. I love you and appreciate you so much. You're all wonderful, and I just have so much appreciation in my heart for all of you. So thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. And I hope you all have a wonderful, safe weekend and a wonderful week ahead. And at this point, I just don't want to let you go because I just appreciate you so much, but I'm going to have to end it here because I do have to get ready for the evening and the next day. So take care, everyone. Stay safe. Goodbye. Wait, should I not end yet, Shia? Should I wait? Hold on. Shia said, "Oh, you wanted to hang?" Okay, yeah, message me. Yeah, message me. Bye.